Hello, I am Remo Yes Man, and today I would like to talk about First Descendants because there's a lot of noise around First Descendants with a lot of people comparing it to Destiny and Warframe. The truth is, this game actually is like Destiny and Warframe in the sense that they have ripped certain features from Destiny and Warframe, most of which being the consumer-friendly features, and they have implemented them into this game and made them much worse in an attempt to make a lot of money off of it. And it seems to be working. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Now, before we start, what I will say about this game is I have spent 20 hours playing this game because it is fun, but it's generically fun in a sense that after about 2 hours, I'm completely ready to get off the game. But what I will say is later on in the day, I do have the desire to play more of it, right? So this is gonna be 5 reasons why First Descendant is and is not like Destiny and Warframe. Number 1, the general game structure. Now, this game is structured as a live service looter shooter type of game. When you first boot the game up, you will go through a tutorial where you will get the option to pick from one of 3 characters. As you select your character, you'll come to realize that every character has 4 abilities as well as a passive ability, just like Warframe. The only difference is these abilities aren't as customizable as in Warframe, and they aren't going to be as impactful. Just like in Warframe, the game will start you off in a tutorial that will show you how to traverse the world, use your abilities, and shoot enemies with your weapons. One thing you'll notice while you're traversing the world is the graphics in the game look pretty good, just like when you first start Warframe. But one thing about these graphics as opposed to Warframe is when you first boot up Warframe, all of this shit looks handcrafted and it's raining and the whole environment looks pretty stunning. Whereas in First Descendants, the game looks pretty nice, but at the same time, it also comes across as looking AI generated. And just like in Warframe and Destiny, 90% of your gameplay is going to be you traversing the world and you shooting enemies. But unlike Warframe and Destiny, these environments almost look AI generated, and that AI generated look persists throughout several of these environments. And I know some people will say that some levels in Warframe are procedurally generated. And hey, fair enough. You know, some levels in Warframe are procedurally generated. But that procedural generation always keeps the game feeling fresh and it keeps all of the levels feeling varied and interesting. Whereas these levels are static and they just seem to be almost AI generated. But hey, I could be totally wrong about that. Whereas in Destiny, as well as Destiny 2, when you first set foot into the world, all of those environments feel handcrafted and memorable. These environments in First Descendant just feel procedurally generated. Even in Destiny 1, when you first set foot into the Cosmodrome kicks the shit out of any environment that you're going to encounter in First Descendant. But that's not to say that First Descendant doesn't look nice. It just looks AI generated in a way. Next, let's talk about Descendants, because Descendants are basically supposed to be your Warframes and Guardians, except Descendants are way worse than Warframe and Guardians. Now, unfortunately, all Descendants kind of play the same as far as gameplay goes. It all kind of boils down to walk forward and shoot the bad guy. Where they tried to copy Warframe is each Descendant has 4 abilities, a first, second, third, fourth ability, as well as a passive ability. But unlike Warframe, you can't modify these abilities at all. Also, your ability progression is tied directly to your level. So if your abilities feel weak, you might need to level up. But even when you level up, a lot of abilities just aren't going to have a noticeable impact on gameplay. It almost feels like you're running around with 4 first abilities from Warframe. And if you know anything about first abilities in Warframe, those are usually the abilities that gets assumed for better abilities. Whereas in Destiny, it doesn't matter whether you're a new player or you have been playing the game for several thousand hours, your abilities will always have a noticeable impact on gameplay and change up the way you play the game, unlike in First Descendants where all the playstyles just boil down to walk forward and shoot the bad guy and take cover every now and then. Number 3, let's talk about the business model for First Descendant, because it's almost like they tried to rip off the Warframe business model while simultaneously making it way more shittier so they can make a lot more money. In First Descendant as well as Warframe, both of these games are structured in a way to where it's not explained very well to how to go out into the world and unlock the specific items you need when you want something. So a lot of players ultimately end up spending money when they could have just farmed it for free. In Warframe, almost everything can be unlocked by simply playing the game if you know what to do. The way it typically goes is you go to the market and you purchase the blueprint for whatever you want, or if the blueprint is not available to the market, you go to the vendor and you give him the corresponding currency or resource for that blueprint without having to spend any money. And then once you acquire that blueprint, you take it back to your foundry and you see the requirements to build it. And then you go out into the world and you farm the resources needed to build the item you want. Now, typically in Warframe, items have anywhere from a 1-minute build time to a 72-hour build time. Now, in First Descendants, most of the stuff can also be acquired for free through gameplay, but some stuff cannot. In First Descendants, the way it usually goes is you'll hit your pause menu and you'll go to the Access Info tab. And at that point, you'll click on the corresponding descendant that you want to farm the parts for. And that tab will tell you where to get each of those parts. Now, some parts are obviously harder to get than other parts, as this is a live service looter shooter. But once you have acquired all of those parts, you take them to the research lady. This lady is basically your workbench. You'll give her all of your resources, and I believe that stuff in this game could have anywhere from a 1-minute build time to a 4-hour build time, but I'm still new to the game and I haven't built a lot of stuff, so it could be a much longer build time that I have no clue about. Now, there's also the ultimate versions of these Descendants that you can farm, but I personally wouldn't even bother farming these because I don't necessarily see me playing the game for that long. And then on top of that, some of the resources you need have ridiculously low drop chances for these. First Descendant also engages in predatory pricing, as when you look at the cost for the Descendants, each Descendant costs 300 premium currency. Well, when you go to the market for $5, you only get 250 premium currency. Therefore, you would have to spend $10 in order to get one Descendant. Now, when you spend that $10, you get 500 plus 20 premium currency, right? So you spend $300 on a Descendant, and now you have 220 premium currency left over. That's almost enough to get another Descendant. So if you go and spend another $5, now you have 470 premium currency left over, almost enough to get 2 more Descendants. The game is designed in a predatory way to where you always have a little bit of premium currency left over, to where you're just short of what you want, or you have just a little bit more than what you want, and therefore you have a little bit of premium currency left over. Number 4, let's talk about cosmetics. Now, generally speaking, this game doesn't really give you anything to customize your character's appearance with. As a result of that, you're gonna constantly be running into characters that look exactly like you unless you spend some money. And what I will say about this system is there are ultimate versions of the Descendants that do look really cool and do look different, but I would never farm these to begin with, because in order to acquire these, you need to go farm resources that have a 3% drop chance. And then on top of that, I don't trust Nexon to begin with, because I don't know if you guys remember, but a couple years ago, Nexon was actually sued because of the whole MapleStory fiasco, where there was this really rare item in MapleStory that a lot of players were going for, but as it turns out, during the duration of the time that a lot of players were going for that item, the item was never actually in game, and Nexon ended up getting fucking sued for that. So I don't trust these motherfuckers to begin with. Whereas in Destiny, the game does feature a battle pass as well as a premium cosmetic shop, but if you want to look cool in Destiny, it's as simple as going out into the world and playing the game, as the open world is littered with gear for you to find that you're going to constantly be acquiring to customize your character with. Destiny also boasts a shader system to where if you acquire a shader, it will change your entire character's color scheme. Now, these used to be one-time use, but now they're permanent. And ironically, even the one-time use system was more of a positive business model than First Descendants has. Whereas in Warframe, upon making your way through the tutorial and getting to your ship, the game offers you a whole strip from a color palette in order to customize your Warframe's color scheme with. In First Descendant, everybody looks the same. You either pay 125 premium currency for a common skin, or you pay 750 premium currency for a premium skin. Number 5, let's talk about general gameplay, because what First Descendant essentially is walk forward and shoot the bad guy. Now, this gameplay formula has been replicated time after time when it comes to live service games. Some of the failed live services being Defiance as well as Skyforge. But you know, I actually like Defiance, by the way. But as far as walk forward and shoot the bad guy goes, I would say the two major players in this space are Warframe and Destiny. Nobody do walk forward and shoot the bad guy as good as Warframe and Destiny. Now, as far as live service looter shooters go, First Descendant does feel pretty good to play. Even though it feels pretty generic and the Descendants' abilities don't feel like they have a noticeable impact on gameplay, it does feel pretty good to play. And that's why I have came back again and again over the course of 20 hours. And then on top of that, there are some Descendants that do feel good to play, like Bunny, whose abilities actually do work in conjunction with each other. Now, when it comes to live service looter shooters, there's not quite a game exactly like Destiny, and that's the reason why Destiny has been around so long, because not only does Destiny feel extremely fun to play, but from beginning to end, it satisfies that power fantasy that most players crave from a live service looter shooter such as this. Now, when it comes to live service looter shooters, there's also no game quite like Warframe. Warframe is the ultimate play your way game that lets you customize everything from your weapons to your warframes, down to your ship, down to every aspect of how your weapon fires, to how much damage it deals, down to how strong your Warframe abilities are and how long those abilities last, as well as how much range those abilities have, and how much those abilities cost to use, dictating how much you can spam those abilities. There's no game quite like Warframe, and that's why Warframe has been around for so long. And then on top of that, Warframe boasts an entire fucking player economy that allows for trading and such. Warframe is the only free-to-play game to where if you know what you're doing, you can go through the game and obtain all of the most premium items in the game without ever having to spend a dime. Now, as far as live service looter shooters goes, First Descendants is generic fun, but it can't really be compared to Destiny and Warframe because Destiny and Warframe are standing on the other side where the grass is greener, looking at First Descendant like,
they not like us, they not like us, they not like us.
This is Remo Yes Man signing out. Peace.